Throb never.
Okay, the question still has not been answered. And that question is, why do so many ethnic groups dislike American blacks? Like I basically started this channel to address that issue because I saw a lot of content creators talking about reparations and all things pertaining to American blacks, and they would constantly run into people on panels in discussions, and none of the people who are against things for American blacks, they don't really have a solid enough reason as to why they're so unified and confederate against American blacks. So like when it comes to reparations, they'll say we're against reparations because of us having to use our tax dollars, or because it's, you weren't the one in slavery, or because it'll cost too much to do it, or because, what are you going to do with the money? Like all types of stuff. But when you examine all of those points, every point that they state as to why they're against it, the very thing they're saying that they're against, they did the very thing that American blacks are asking for or demanding for every other ethnic group. That's why the points don't stand up. So I'm concluding, quantitatively, that can't be the reason. It's not about economics. It's about something else. And I'm waiting to see if someone can give a valid enough reason why every other ethnic group, and that's not all of the members of the other ethnic groups, but there's too many in each of the other ethnic groups, and I mean all of them, that have something slick, denigrating, derogatory, degrading, to say about American blacks. The question still hasn't been answered as to why they feel the way that they do. The thing that's interesting is that you have all these other ethnic groups that, are pretty much against American blacks, but it's not the same in the reverse. You don't have American blacks all unified against every other ethnic group. But every other ethnic group is unified against American blacks. I was listening to O'Shea Duke Jackson's content, and he brought up the fact that in Africa, I don't know if it was Kenya, well, I don't know where it was exactly over there, but he had brought up the situation of some Asians or Chinese, specifically Chinese, were there, and no, it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know if that was specifically Chinese, but it was a couple of situations. One was where the Chinese man was whipping the African or Kenyan local for being late to work. Like, like literally, with a switch or a rod. For those of you who are American black, you know what a switch is, but for those of you who don't know, it's a limb you take, like a branch you take from is it a branch? It's not a branch, but I guess it could be a branch, but it's a small branch of a tree, a little limb of a tree that, we got whoopings with. That we got whoopings with as kids, you know what I'm saying? It was particularly bad if you had to go pick your own switch, a little bit of torture. But this Kenyan local was being whipped with a switch by a Chinese business owner because the African guy had came to work late. And I'm just thinking like, wow, like the audacity, like come here and take your licks. You're late to work, whooping your ass. Oh my God. This motherfucker gonna tell him, I'm finna whoop your ass. To a grown ass man, the Chinese guy gets a switch and whoops the African dude's ass with the switch. Now, the fact that the guy is getting whooped with the switch is not funny. That's not what's tickling me. Like, that's not funny at all. That's actually angering, you know? And mind you, this isn't my ethnic group, but it's angering. What's funny about it is, what's funny about it is the audacity. That's the funny thing. Like, for a person to look at another human being and have the balls in his mind to say, you were late coming to my establishment, I'm whooping your ass. That's, it's not funny, but it's funny because it's something that should only be said in comedy, or that is not actually true. You know what I'm saying? Like some parody shit, but for it to actually go down, that's not funny. And don't get it twisted. Like, I'm not laughing at the fact that this African local, an African native, was being brutalized by a person of another ethnic group. But O'Shea Duke Jackson had mentioned that on this channel, and he had brought up another situation where there was they were Asian as well, but I'm not sure of the exact nationality. But they had signs up on their apartment buildings that they were renting out, and the sign said, "Don't rent." They had it in their. The Asians had it on the sign written in their native language, and they had it written in English. But the sign said, "Don't rent to Africans, and don't rent to the African Negro." So they're making a clear distinction. They're making a clear distinction as to who they don't want rented to. And they don't want it rented to Africans nor the African Negro. So they're saying they're covering both Negroid type people. So we know that there's a clear delineation. They've made the delineation as well. So, but on a global scale, at some point, it's gonna have to not even be about which rights American blacks or Africans get as well, because everybody is against anybody ethnically and phenotypically black. But this is what makes it so weird, is to have phenotypically and ethnically black ethnic groups be against American blacks. That's what prompted me wanting to do this channel. The dissonance of trying to figure out, wait a minute, these people, they look like us. So whether they're from the Caribbean, whether they're from Africa, or wherever it is, why are these people who are supposed to be with us against us? And for no valid reason that we can think of. Like I said, all the points that people mention about it doesn't really hold up. So what is the disdain? Like I said, that question still hasn't been answered. What is the disdain from other ethnic groups? And this isn't just black ethnic groups, this is all of them. What is the disdain for American blacks? And then, what is this thing of another ethnic group can go into another group's country set up shop, and then have the audacity to get a switch or a rod or whatever it is you want to do and whip this person like they are your pet being disobedient in the house. And then people don't even do that to their pets. But whatever it is making you think you can do this to a human being. Like, what is this? Like in 2024, you have another ethnic group in Africa setting up shop, and the member of that ethnic group has the audacity to grab a switch, a branch, a rod, or whatever it is, and then physically strike an African local, an African native, an African indigenous person. But we've moved here on legislation in America for anti-Asian hate crime bill, where if someone here had done that to an Asian person, all hell would break loose. All around the world it would break loose. But you can go into Africa and do that to an indigenous African and nothing happened. And then, there's reports of, how Jamaica is being experiencing heavy discrimination from, I believe it's some Chinese in Jamaica against the Jamaican locals and indigenous natives. So, but all these things I'm touching on isn't specifically on American blacks, but I'm saying if these other phenotypically and ethnically black groups are experiencing the same things that American blacks are experiencing, how in the world do these groups have the logic to be against American blacks in any capacity? You know what I'm saying? That's what's caused all of the confusion for me. That's what caused me to start this channel. And the question still hasn't been answered. I kind of know what will be said, but the typical and standard talking points that have been given, they don't stand up. So when you come across this and you're listening to it, leave a comment. Like I said, we're going to be having panels pretty soon where people can get up and actually literally state what it is that they feel about this and why this is the case. But right now, it's still a mystery. So I'll leave it right there. The question of why all of the other ethnic groups dislike American blacks, it still hasn't been answered. I'm out.
Heart throb never.